Hi, in this video we're going to show you how to find out what is taking up your disk space on your Linux-based computer. So we're going to be using a tool called qdirstat. So it's a Linux version of the popular WinDirStat that you could use in Windows. We did a video on that a long time ago as well if you want to check that out. So once you install it, you simply run it, and then you could kind of narrow down what's taking up your disk space and where these files are located. All right, so we're going to install it first because it's not on the computer by default. We're on Ubuntu Linux. This is Cinnamon Ubuntu, by the way. So the process may vary depending on your distribution of Linux. So keep that in mind. So you might have to do a little research on your end. All right, so we're going to open up a terminal first. All right, so first we're going to do a sudo apt update to update our repository, put in our password. All right, that's done. Let's clear the screen. Now we're going to run sudo apt install qdirstat. All right, so now we should be able to find it from our menu here. So if we type in qdir, there it is. All right, so when you first open it, it's going to want to go to your user folder by default to home. And of course, if you want to go up to the root folder here, you could do that as well. So if you think you know where these large files are, you might want to actually start in that folder, such as downloads or documents or something like that, just to kind of not have to look through everything else. But we're just going to do the whole drive here. So we'll click OK. So it'll take a minute for it to scan through everything. All right, so you're going to get this message here. Some directories could not be read, and that's normal. You click on details and see what they are, because we're just running this as our standard user. It's recommended not to run it as root because you might cause some problems here, but that's what we're going to be locked out of, which is usually fine. All right, then you can see here we have our folder list. Like, for example, this LibreOffice here has 3.8 megabytes. I know that's not much, but compared to what's on this computer, it's showing it as a decent amount here. So this is just a test computer, so there's not a whole lot on here. So we're just going to kind of show you in this video how to use it, and then you could kind of go through your own computer and narrow things down. And then of course you could, branch it out here and expand the directories. So you can see we have this registry folder here is using 99% of the LibreOffice. So this is not 99% of your whole drive, it's just 99% of the parent folder there. And we could kind of scan through here as well. So the files directory is using 98.7% of the registry directory. And then we have these individual files, and you could tell how much they're using of their parent directory themselves, and you get their size as well. Then you have some other options here for how many items, how many files, how many subdirectories, and when they were last modified. So if we go to the Bob folder here, we can see the download folder here is 7.2 gigabytes. That's because we have this Windows 11 ISO file in there. So this is using 100% of the downloads directory because that's the only file in there. And then you have this listing down here where you kind of see the larger files. They're kind of separated into colors depending on what type of file. And if you click on one, it'll take you to that file. So this one here is 193 megabytes. And go over here, for example. This file here is 123, and down the line. And then once you find a file, you have some options. You can right click on it, open File Manager here, move to trash. Obviously don't delete anything unless you know that it's something you don't need. And you could permanently delete it as well. Open a terminal here, and then you could go up and down the folders. And then you have your path here if you want to go up a folder like so. You can see how many levels you want it to show here. So if you want more or less information, you could do that. L2 is the default. Then you have similar options here. trash bin, file manager, terminal, permanently delete, zoom in, refresh, up a level, back and forward. File menu here. Open a directory, show installed packages. So if you want to match a particular package name, you could try that. Find out where it is. Copy the path. Have some options here. So we have our cleanup actions, and you could change it here. MIME categories. So you could edit these as well. Exclude rules if you want to exclude certain files or directories, and general options. Then we have some view options, which are similar to what we saw in the toolbar with the layouts. If you want to see statistics, mounted file systems. Then we have the go options, which are similar to the arrows on the toolbar. You could bookmark them as well. If you want to see the largest files, you could do that. And you can right click on them and go right to them and delete them if you are sure you could delete them, of course. Newest files, oldest files, multiple hard links, symbolic links, or broken symbolic links, I should say, sparse files. Cleanup options here, and then some help. All right, so I'm going to show you one other thing if you want to have a little more access here without doing the sudo commands. Let me close this out here. Clear the screen here. Okay, but before we do that, if you do an apt show qdirstat, you can see what version you're running. So you may not have the latest and greatest depending on what you could get from the website, but if you get it from the website, obviously you're going to have to install it differently than just doing it the way we did here. So I just wanted to show you could check your version that way. I think it's actually up to version 2 right now, but this might be a better version for our situation depending on how stable version 2 is. All right, so now we're going to run this command, which is the GUI equivalent to root. So this will pass the display variables back to root and allow you to open the GUI. Because I think if you try and do it with sudo, it's not going to work anyways, but you don't want to do that to begin with. All right, so let's try this out here. So we need our password to do this. Give it a second. All right, so now we can start again up at the root here. So now we have a little more access and we don't have those messages that we saw before about the inaccessible folders. All right, so as you can see, it's a pretty nice tool to find out what's taking up your space. So if you're starting to run low on space and you're not sure what to clean up, you could definitely use something like this. All right, so I'll put all these commands in the description, and that way you could run them on your computer. But like I said, depending on your Linux distribution, you might have to do it a little differently, so you'll figure it out when you get there. All right, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe.